Good day, everyone. My name is Hershey Chiledra, and I am your host for today, no other than Hershey May. Okay. Allow me to introduce to you to the magical world of Rosita. Alright. So for today, we will be rationalizing another set of questions from general education and professional education. And without further ado, let's begin. Alright, so number one. This event resulted in the start of Philippine Revolution. A cry of Pugadlawin. B. Cavite Mutiny. C. Tijeros Convention. D. La Liga Filipina. So what is the answer? Okay, so the answer for this one is letter A, Cry of Pugadlawin. Why? Cry of Pugadlawin or Balintawak in August 1896 is the symbolic and historical act that formally started the Philippine Revolution against Spain. It involved the Katipuneros led by Andres Bonifacio tearing up their cedulas, their community tax certificates in open defiance. So, what is the cedula? So, it is their community tax certificates. Okay. Next, Cavite Mutiny. Why not the answer? So this occurred in 1872. It was a brief military uprising that led to the execution of the three priests, the Gomburza. It was a precursor that fueled Filipino nationalism, but not the start of the revolution itself. Tejeros Convention. So this occurred in 1897, after the revolution had begun. It was an assembly that established the revolutionary government and elected Emilio Aguinaldo as president, replacing the Katipunan structure. Next. La Liga Filipina. This was a peaceful reformist organization founded by Jose Rizal in 1892. Its dissolution led to the formation of the Revolutionary Katipunan. But the League itself was not an armed revolution. Okay, remember? The cry of Pugadlawin was in August 1896, Cavite Mutiny 1872, the Tejeros Convention 1897, La Liga Filipina 1892. Okay, remember that. Next, number 2. Which type of tax imposes a higher percentage rate on taxpayers who have higher incomes? A. Progressive tax. B. Proportional tax. C. Regressive tax. D. Value added tax. So, what is the answer? So, the answer for this is progressive tax. Why? Because progressive tax system is one where the tax rate increases as the taxable amount or income increases. This aligns with the principle of ability to pay, where higher earners pay a higher percentage. Next, why not proportional tax? So this is also known as a flat tax. This imposes the same tax rate on all taxpayers, regardless of income level. Next, regressive tax. So this imposes a higher percentage rate on lower incomes. So sales tax, like value added tax, or also known as VAT, is often considered regressive because everyone pays the same rate, but it takes up a larger proportion of a low income person's earnings. Next, value added tax or VAT is a type of consumption tax levied on the price of a good or service. It is generally considered a regressive tax because it's paid equally by all consumers regardless of income. So, higher percentage rate on taxpayers who have higher income, progressive tax. Okay. Next, number 3. Which Philippine president is known as the father of social justice and of the national language? A. Ramon Magsaysay. B. Manuel Quezon. C. Ferdinand Marcos. D. Emilio Aguinaldo. Alright, so what is the answer for this one? Ding, ding, ding. So the answer is letter B, Manuel Quezon. Why? Because Manuel L. Quezon, is officially recognized as the father of the national language or ama ng wikang pambansa because he signed the Executive Order number 134 in 1937 proclaiming Tagalog as the basis for the national language. He is also known for advocating for social justice or katarungang panlipunan as a key policy of his Commonwealth government. So why not Ramon Magsaysay? Ramon Magsaysay was known as the guy and idol of the masses. His administration was known for its efforts against the Hukbalahap rebels and reforms for the common people. Why not Ferdinand Marcos? Ferdinand Marcos known for his declaration of martial law, right? In 1972 to 1981 rather, and for being the longest serving president. Imagine 1972 to 1981. Next, why not Emilio Aguinaldo? So, Emilio Aguinaldo was the first president of the Philippine Republic from 1899 to 1901 and a leader of the revolution. Next question. Number 4. The first Philippine president from the Ilocos region was who? Okay. A. Ferdinand Marcos. B. Elpidio Quirino. C. Fidel V. Ramos. D. Gloria Macapagal Arroyo. The answer for this is no other than B. It's letter B. Elpidio Quirino. Why not Ferdinand Marcos? Ferdinand Marcos was from Ilocos Norte. Yes, from Ilocos. He was the second president from the region of Ilocos after Quirino. So Elpidio Quirino from Vegan or Ilocos Sur, Vegan Ilocos Sur served as the sixth Philippine president from 1948 to 1953 and was the first president to hail from the Ilocos region. So Ferdinand Marcos was the second. Quirino is the first. Fidel V. Ramos, of course, he's from Pangasinan. And Gloria Macapagal Arroyo was from Pampanga. Okay, next. Number 5. What is a person's right to protection? A person's right to protection against unlawful disappearance is A. Writ of amparo. B. Writ of habeas corpus. C. Writ of kalikasan. D. Writ of certiorari. What is the answer for this? Okay, it's letter A. The writ of amparo. Okay, why? Okay, so here, writ of amparo is a remedy available to any person whose right to life, liberty, or security is violated or threatened by an unlawful act or omission of a public official or employee or of a private individual or entity. So this writ primarily addresses threats like extralegal killings and enforced disappearance. So it is a protection against disapparitionist. So why not the writ of habeas corpus? So writ of habeas corpus, the Latin for you may have the body. Okay, so writ of habeas corpus in Latin is you may have the body. is a court order demanding that a public official like a jailer deliver an imprisoned individual to the court and show a valid reason for their detention, while related to liberty is specifically addresses to unlawful detention, not unlawful disappearance. So the question is unlawful disappearance, right? So habeas corpus is unlawful detention. Writ of amparo is the unlawful disappearance, which is the answer. Next, writ of kalikasan. Writ of kalikasan in Filipino for nature is a legal remedy for the protection of one's right to a healthy and balanced ecology. D. Writ of certiorari. So this is a legal remedy where a higher court reviews the decision of a lower court or tribunal for legal errors. So the answer for this is letter A, writ of amparo. A person's right to protection against unlawful disappearance. Alright, so now, since we're done with the general education, let us all move forward to professional education. Okay, number 1. What's shown by results in a pre-test? Okay, is it A, past experiences, B, previous knowledge, C, learned skills, D, post-instructional understanding? So what is the answer for this? So the answer for this is no other than letter B, previous knowledge, pre-test. Okay, here, why previous knowledge? So a pre-test is an assessment given before instruction begins. Its primary purpose is to determine what students already know about the topic, which is their previous knowledge or prior learning. Why not past experiences? Of course. So here, past experiences was to vogue experiences contribute to knowledge but aren't directly measured by a pretest score. Okay, so here, learned skills. So this typically refers to what is acquired during instruction, which would be measured by a post-test. Okay, post-test, learned skills. Next, post-instructional understanding. What is post-instructional understanding? So this is the result of a post-test or a summative assessment given after instruction. Okay, so here, result in a pre-test, previous knowledge. Next, which of the following belongs to authentic assessment? So what is authentic? Real world, something real like that. So is it A, performing a task, B, simple recall, C, true or false test, D, multiple choice test? Okay, so what is the answer? Okay, it's letter A, performing a task. Why? Authentic assessment. So let's talk about authentic assessment, or also known as a performance-based assessment, and it requires students to construct a response, demonstrate a skill, or perform a task that mirrors real-world challenges. For example, giving a speech, conducting an experiment, or writing a research paper. Next, B, simple recall. What is simple recall? So this is characteristics of traditional objective tests like true or false or short answer questions. Next, true or false test. So this is a type of a traditional or objective test that assesses simple recall and recognition. Next, multiple choice test. This is also a type of traditional or objective test that assesses recognition of facts and concepts, not real-world performance. Next, let's have the number 3. In matching type questions, what are distractors that ensures only one correct response among choices or alternatives? Okay, is it letter A, test locus, B, incorrect choices, C, test blueprint. D. Answer keys. Okay, so what is the answer? Distractors. Of course, it is letter B. Incorrect choices. Okay, so in matching type question or multiple choice test, the plausible but wrong options are called distractors. They are designed to distract students who lack sufficient knowledge, ensuring that the correct answer is the only defensible choice. So why not test locus? So what is test locus? Locus refers to the location or focus of the test item, not the incorrect choices themselves. Next, test a blueprint. So test blueprint or table of specifications is a plan for the test that outlines the content and skill coverage, not the specific wrong answer. Next, letter D. Answer keys, of course. The answer keys simply list the correct responses for the test, not distractors. Next, number 4. What kind of multiple choice questions is for an agricultural country like Philippines, which should the country advance for its economic development? A. Agriculture production. B. Industrial development. C. Tourism. D. Finance and banking. So what kind of multiple questions is this? A. Assessment of a problem. B. Application of a concept. C. Recall of facts. D. Identification of a concept. Okay, the answer for this is assessment of a problem. So this question presents a scenario, right? A scenario, an agricultural country needing economic development, and ask the student to choose the best solution or action. And this requires analysis and judgment about a practical problem, classifying it as an assessment of a problem or a higher order thinking question. And letter B, application of a concept. Why? What is this application of a concept? Application involves using a rule or idea in a new situation. So this question requires more complex evaluation than simple application. Here, recall of facts. Of course, the question does not ask for a single known piece of data like date or definition, but rather a reasoned judgment. Here, letter D, identification of a concept. So the question is not asking for a definition of economic development, but for the appropriate strategy to achieve it. That's why it's not the answer. So the answer for this is assessment of a problem. Okay? Alright, so now let's move on to the number 5. Okay, number 5. What is the aim in interpreting grades against standards? A. Rating of performance. B. Understanding of performance. C. Class ranking. D. Comparing students. So what is the answer for this? Interpreting grades against standards. Okay, it's letter B. Understanding of performance. Why this is the answer? Interpreting grades against pre-established standards or criteria, also known as criterion reference evaluation, allows educators and students to understand exactly what the student can or cannot do relative to a learning goal. For example, a B means the student mastered these specific skills regardless of how other students perform. Okay, so here, why not letter A, rating of performance? So while grades are a rating, the aim of interpreting them against standards is deeper than just assigning a number. Okay, so not rating of performance. So here, class ranking. This is the aim of norm reference evaluation where students' performance is what? Compared to that or their peers, the norm group. Okay? Not against an absolute standard. Next, comparing students. Like the class ranking, this is the aim of norm reference evaluation, which contrasts with the focus on absolute standards. So here, what is the aim? So here, the aim of interpreting grades against standards was to understanding of performance. Okay, so that ends our presentation for tonight. So once again, this is Hershey Ledra, your host for today, no other than Hershey May. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Bye bye. Stay safe. God bless.